Ladies and gentlemen, the buzz around the Hive is on for volume 4. 4 episodes. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. My name is Mr. Knowles. I'm your history teacher, Latin American teacher, world history teacher, U.S. history teacher, pretty much teacher of all history here at Zion Benton High School. And we're talking about the buzz around the Hive for another episode. Today, a little bit more serious. We're going to talk about the culture and climate of our schools and the safety of our building. Okay, some things, let's be honest, some things have happened. We want to make sure that we're communicating the right message and getting safety for our students first, and what we're doing to instill that in our culture and in our climate. So just like usual, guys, the buzz is on. Let's go. All right, guys, it's time. It's time for the co-host with the most. Woo! Got Dr. Pavelchek coming in. I got to keep the woo. I got to keep the woo, sir. The woo is in. The woo is in. The woo is in. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good today, Mr. Knowles. I appreciate another opportunity to share some insight and some information with our community.
Excellent. We'll add another a two-time person to the show, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Zachary Livingston. How you doing today, sir? Unmic yourself again, sir. No, again. No, really. Unmic yourself. Like unmute yourself. There you go.
Sorry, I pressed it. How you doing? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Now, this is your assistant principal, guys. This is your principal. We do have a new addition to the team today. This is Mr. Carlson. Mr. Carlson is the Director of Student Services. Mr. Carlson, you want to do any type of introduction on yourself or anything?
A longtime ZB staff member, and I just want to say welcome, ZB Nation.
The ZB Nation. All right, guys, so let's talk about it. There's some stuff we need to get out there. Culture and climate, safety in our school. Who wants the ball? I mean, basically, the ball needs to be passed. Ms. Dr. Pavelchek, would you like the ball?
Yes, I'll start. I appreciate that. Yeah. The point of this podcast here today is really just to address safety. I don't think I need to say I need to be transparent in this. I think those that are going to view this podcast are likely going to be very aware that we've had quite a number of fights in the building. We call them agitations, physical, sometimes verbal as well. And we also know that has raised lots of questions with regard to just personal safety in the building. We want everyone to understand that this is a very significant and urgent issue that we're going to continue to deal with. One that, whether we anticipate it or not, I think it's fair to say that just dealing with challenging circumstances, and in this case, conflicts that are going to persist in schools and have been forever, and either the know-how and the tools or the resources that individuals just need to have in order to manage these conflicts in a way that doesn't get to physical violence, right? That now is our priority. I mean, it's pretty clear from all of this that students are some students. Most are doing great, and I'm always thankful for the fact that the majority of the kids are doing the things they need to do to be successful and doing it the right way. But we also have had quite a number of students who have been making choices to resolve their differences with other students in ways that I think we can collectively agree just are not appropriate and are not going to serve our school community very well.
I like it, Dr. Pavelchek. So culture and climate safety in our schools, we look at that. Mr. Livingston, Mr. Carlson, would you guys like to chime in on this topic? Who wants the ball?
Go ahead, Jake.
Well, I can take the ball to start here. Thank you, Mr. Knowles and Dr. Pavelchek. Dr. Pavelchek kind of talked a little bit about, the small minority of students who are finding it difficult to make the right choices when it comes to resolving conflict. And that's really one of the messages we want to get out to students through this podcast and through some of the activities that we'll be doing throughout the year is what to do in those cases. Again, it's a small group of students who are having a difficult time resolving those things, and the vast majority of students are making the right decisions, letting things go, or what we really want to get to is letting people know that there is a problem. And in all cases of school violence, minor to major, other people know before it happens. And so what we really want to get across to the kids is the idea of say something if you see something, or say something if you hear something. And really the idea there is who to tell. And it's really, we want the kids to find an adult in the building that they have a relationship with, that they can tell, to try to avoid those conflicts resulting in physical or verbal agitations.
Well said, sir. Well said. The here's something, say something thing is definitely something that all the students and everything should be listening for and doing. Mr. Livingston, is there another way that teachers, or I'm sorry, students or parents or whatever can let us know what's going on in school anonymously? Like to let us know what's happening anonymously in our building, just to make sure we're aware of potential dangers around the corner?
Sure. And I believe Mr. Carlson actually was the one that kind of championed, we do have an anonymous alert system that's directly on our website. It's an anonymous alert button. It's right on our homepage. If you go to our website, zbths.org, you can see it there. So we promote and we
I got you.
We champion
I
that.
got you.
Oh, thank you. Right there. If you go on our website.
Right. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. And if you know about some things that happen in the community, a lot of our conflict stem from things that actually don't happen in the building. What we all should remember is that our school building is just the meeting place for a lot of conflicts that actually didn't start here, but they're resolved here. So we need support from all people, all parties, students, parents, to kind of help us, give us a heads up so we can help prevent some of these things.
And plus, guys, too, if you notice, it is available as a downloadable app on the App Store and Google Play. You notice the languages. It has pretty much, I don't know, Creole. We have Creole in the building. Creole language. No, I don't know. I'm an EL teacher. I probably should know that, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it, it is, you look at the steps. False reporting will be taken seriously. Who the submitter type, what school it is, the location, the priority. And down here, just to point out, you can click to add photos and screenshots of what you see here or whatever, and social media as well. So if you see something on social media, like Snapchat is the popular and TikTok is the popular among our students, you can use that as well. It will be anonymous. It'll go straight to admit. Who does that go to, Mr. Livingston? If someone keys that in, like who monitors that?
Yeah, there's several administrators in the building who receive a message when an anonymous alert comes in that's relevant for our student population, and those different parties get it, and we kind of talk about it and meet about it.
Excellent. So that is there, guys, and please remember too that is completely anonymous. That is something that you guys could, always use in case anything comes up that we need to know about immediately for potential threats or dangers or something that we need to know right off the bat. So when we go to
Mr. Knowles, could I butt in and add just a couple of things on the anonymous alerts?
Always, sir. Always.
So it is truly anonymous. But there is a possibility of us contacting back through anonymous alerts. And so oftentimes when we get this anonymous alerts, we don't get a whole lot of detail. We get somebody just saying something about something, and we're trying to gather information. So while you can give it anonymously, we do encourage students to give us the details of who's involved and when it happened, so that we can do the investigation to try to handle the situation before it becomes bigger.
Excellent. Dr. Pavelchek, you're noticeably quiet here, sir. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Well, I appreciate that. That's not something that people really say about me in these forums. So maybe I'm practicing something new. No, Appreciative of the experts, right? Mr. Carlson running student services is really the point person on these anonymous alerts. And as Mr. Livingston also articulated, it goes to all of our building level administrators, deans, and Mr. Carlson as well, our safety director, Mr. Worthington. So there are multiple folks that it goes to, just so, because we can get alert in the middle of the night. Hopefully one of us is going to get to it. And then if it's super urgent, we start dealing with it right away. But I also want to acknowledge the reality of see something, hear something, say something. And that's not necessarily something that's easy for all students and families or parents to adhere to as well. Like, that the idea of a snitch and that stigma that can come with, people finding out if somebody told or informed on these things. Like, we truly understand that those are real issues that students deal with. But in the end, we're trying to create a collective commitment to creating a sound environment that's conducive for everybody to learn and be successful. And when we have these kinds of agitations or any other things that can begin to question the safety of our building, and if people have knowledge of this, and if they share that with us, we can get ahead of it. That's just going to benefit everybody as a whole. And in some cases, right, an anonymous alert that's giving us a heads up is going to eliminate the possibility of either injury happening to students or even significant consequences happening because a student actually did something that violates our code of conduct, and we're kind of forced to issue consequences. So we're trying to be as proactive as we can, but we are faced with the fact that individuals are going to make individual decisions, and hopefully we can be proactive and prevent poor decision making. And the other side of that is that we know that we need to help all of our students, and particularly some of them, really be able to better manage these conflicting relationships that are just going to inevitably pop up in the course of a school year in a school building with 2,200 students. We just want to make sure everybody understands that there are alternative ways to solving those that do not result in violence or do not result in fighting.
So, and that's an excellent transition you gave me there, sir. So if the student body, parents, there are techniques and strategies that you can use to resolve conflict resolution. Who wants the ball? What kind of conflict resolution opportunities and strategies can Zion offer to our students as well as our parents of those students to help them better manage conflict in their daily lives for like being here at Zion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can talk a little bit here. So, I guess, the first thing we would discuss is that, behaviors are learned. And as an educational institution, we have to acknowledge that sometimes even the general classroom teacher, in order to have students respond and act a certain way in your classroom, sometimes you have to actually teach those behaviors. And as a school, we'd like to offer those same opportunities. Currently, we have kind of sprinkled in our advisory curriculum and initiatives lessons that have to do specifically with conflict resolution. Some insight and some training on what those look like is coming out for teachers. And we have a lot of great ideas, and I won't mention all those ideas yet until they're down on paper and we're really fully to invest in that information on those. But I have to start with what we have available immediately. Our counselors and our deans, believe it or not. And many people see the dean's office, not to speak for them. Deans are educators as well. I know they're seen as the disciplinarian and the end all be all for consequences, but we have all types of restorative conversations in the counselor's office, in the dean's office, in which we offer students several other solutions to solve problems. To go back to what we spoke about in the beginning, though, we have to know about them. I would argue that a vast majority of the issues that we run into were not previously known. So we run into the result of a problem. Most issues, I would argue a vast majority of issues that we know about beforehand are prevented. So, this idea of conflict resolution, I think it's important for everyone to remember that, every student in the building does not have the social emotional sachet to solve issues in the simple. And I would argue that a lot of adults don't have the social sachet to kind of conflict resolve issues with other adults. They just don't result to fighting. It might be I'm not talking to you, or it might be I'm just going to ignore it and act like the problem never happened. Students, they handle issues a different way. So, that's what I say. I want to take up all the time speaking about it.
Beautiful word, sachet. I like it. I like the sachet. The sachet was good. The sachet was good. I like the sachet. So, gentlemen, it is the word. He used a thesaurus word. It was a thesaurus word. So my last question for you guys, and this is just from a teacher's perspective to ask about, to make, this, because this is for the student body, our parents, our community. But for this year, there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about school discipline. How is the school communicating expectations and potential consequences to the student body and the community as a whole? Anyone who wants the ball. I know that was a mouthful, but I was just out of curiosity if anyone wants to take that one.
Yeah, I can talk about it. I can start that conversation. So to answer the first part, how are we introducing? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question, Mr. Knowles. How are we introducing or relaying the information to the faculty, right?
Just everybody.
Oh, just everybody.
Just everybody. Community, faculty, students, parents.
So it's a new year. It's a post-pandemic year, and we expected students to kind of come in with a different type of description. And what I mean by description is they've experienced some things through the pandemic. We knew that they were going to come in and struggle with some issues. So we've had our student handbook gone through specific pages through advisory, where we've talked about student code of conduct and expectations. We've also held assemblies at the beginning of the year by grade level, where we actually talked about consequences, and we talked about the lack of following some of those student handbook guidelines and what consequences could result from that. Again, going back to our website, the student handbook is readily available on our website, should anybody choose to kind of follow up and figure out what's appropriate. But I will say this as well, that before I allow somebody else to speak, our student handbook is it's a comprehensive document. It is something that you need to read through section by section, and you might need some clarity or some clarification about what's allowed and what's going to happen. And I'll say that I think most disciplinary documents are very comprehensive because they kind of need to be. We're currently exploring other ways to kind of make things simple and plain. We have some items that we would like to share out. However, I'm not sure that the consequences and what will happen after said act takes place is what we actually want to focus on. We want to focus on preventing them. So prevention strategies is kind of what we're really focused on trying to elaborate and articulate for everyone, staff, community, and students.
Yeah, if I can just add to that too, Mr. Knowles, what we're finding too, and also receiving some feedback from students, is that it's not that they don't know what the expectations are, because what we're talking about is fighting in a school building, which I think we can collectively agree. Everyone knows that's not supposed to happen. Everyone knows that that all schools have policies that will have to have consequences for those behaviors, and that the expectation for any student in any school building, probably in the entire world, is don't fight in school. Like those are not okay behaviors in any way, shape, or form, right? And I could go down a list of other things that we may see kind of habitually happening as well, but really today is about safety, or then I'll say anything related to the safety and security of students, right? I think most people will understand that there are general ways of student behavior that just simply are not allowed in a school building, right? So that's a part of it, but I think what we're finding too is mostly not that students students aren't confused that fighting isn't allowed, and students aren't confused that there will be consequences either. It's that for some reason or another, that seems to be the way that they're going to use to solve that conflict they have. And what we have to do as a school building, what we're asking families to talk about with their children, and what we want students to know is that is not a civil way to solve differences. And it is becoming very disruptive in our building. And we need to figure out a way to help those that are going to make that choice not make that choice anymore. And that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line, because of the sheer impact that it has been having now over these last several months as we've returned to school.
Well said, sir. Like I said, it was just a question of, community and everything else as an encompassing whole. So any final thoughts, guys? I want to be respectful of your time. Any final thoughts on what we've talked about today?
This is what I would leave everyone with is Zion Benton is our school, and the school that we want to have is really determined by the decisions that we make as a collective whole. So I just encourage students to find that trusting adult, to help each other out by making the right decisions, by letting people know that there is something going on. It's going to make it a better place. It's going to make people feel safer. If people are feeling safe, more learning is going to happen. And ultimately, that's our goal, right? Is so that to make sure that students come to a place where they can learn. And safety, is going to help promote that ability to learn. So thanks for hosting this, Mr. Knowles.
You got it. That's what I'm here for. Dr. Pavelchik, boss man, any final words?
Yeah. And I appreciate Mr. Livingston and Mr. Carlson joining us as well for some different perspectives in the building. And just also know that we are going to, take very different measures as we move forward, to universally, again, just continue to have that conversation and continue to acknowledge that students are going to have instances where conflict is going to persist. And we want to just make sure that we're doing all we can to give students the skills and the knowledge and the tools that they are going to need to make a different decision than resorting to physical violence. That is our commitment, along with continuing to keep our hallways with eyes on them, and continue to keep people feeling safe as best as we can as well. That is a significant priority for us as we move forward, and we are not going to cease our efforts to continue to address these behaviors and continue to see what we can do to just help create a more conducive environment for everybody to as Mr. Carlson said, feel safe, but then most importantly, be successful in all the things that they're doing here in our building.
I agree. Well said. So definitely, guys, from Mr. Carlson, Mr. Livingston, Dr. Pavelchik, myself, this is the Buzz Around the Hive. We'll see you next week for Volume 5.